Right, hello and welcome back to a new YouTube video. Today I'm going to attempt to cycle all the way home from uni, right? We'll be doing roughly 45 miles a day, and that's between Southampton and Lichfield, where I live. And this journey will take 4 days. It's just a little challenge I set myself, and it also makes a good YouTube title. I cycled home from uni, so that's also why we're doing it, not gonna lie. But yeah, hopefully it will be fun and enjoyable because I like setting myself challenges. So today we are cycling to Newbury, which is roughly 45 miles north of Southampton. Okay, so we're going to go out to get breakfast to give us fuel for the day, and then we will be cycling all the way to Newbury. Right, so this is breakfast at Bill's in Southampton, which will give me great energy for the day ahead. So this is Mayflower here. It's a massive building. This is where I have resided for a year now. This room here is mine here. Yeah, I am quite sad to be leaving, but hopefully I'll be back here next year, maybe to visit some people. I am living in the house next year, but I do want to come here again. So this is the biking setup we have. We have a case on the front there for my phone for directions. We have water, and we have these panniers at the back, and we also have a rucksack with clothes in.
Take care, you two.
Right, so I decided to film a bit of us leaving Southampton, just because I was impressed at how well it caters for cyclists. Like, I'd lived there for a while, so I knew it, but there was literally a cycle lane everywhere, and you don't get that in most cities I've been to. Now, if you're wondering why my mum is cycling ahead of me, this is for two reasons. Firstly, she's slower than me, so I need to know what pace to keep. Because in the past, when I've cycled first, I've rushed off ahead at my own pace, and she's been miles behind. And secondly, she was the only one with a bell. I do not have a bell on my bike. Right, so I don't know how well you can see me right now, but we've just passed through Romsey, which is just north of Southampton. So far I'm really enjoying it. It's a nice sunny day. It's been fairly flat. I think I will struggle when we start to get to hills with obviously all like my luggage, but we should be fine. But yeah, so far everything is good. We were now cycling through the Test Valley district, which is a local government district of Hampshire, and going through the Test Valley was the Test Way. So the Test Way is a 44-mile long-distance footpath which goes from Walbury Hill in West Berkshire to Ealing in Hampshire, and it's called the Test Way because it largely follows the route of the River Test, a river which ends up quite close to Southampton and goes into Southampton water. We think it used to be a railway because we saw kind of a box, like a station box, along the route, and yeah, we liked it. It was flat and it was very easy to cycle along. So after a quick stop so my mum could have an antihistamine for her hay fever, we started cycling properly along the Test Way. Do you just want to go? I say we go. Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks. So we have just ascended our first big hill of the journey, and we've got some fairly decent views. Right, so we just went through this village, and we asked this lady how far away is Andover, because it's like a sizable place en route. Just wanted to know how far away it was, and there was a guy there as well, and he was like, "Have you got blades on you?" And we were like, "What?" And then apparently Andover is a really deprived, rough area, and we're in Andover now. Like, do you think this is rough and deprived? Look, I'll pan around. It looks absolutely fine, like your standard British town. I mean, she did live in like the poshest village I've ever seen, because all the houses had like thatched roofs that came right down. But still, this is not deprived. So after stopping off at Pizza Express in this extremely rough and deprived area, we continue cycling. Right, so we are now 11 miles away from our hotel in Newbury, and recently we've just been going through lots and lots of countryside, so that's why I haven't been filming, just because look, it's basically just your standard British countryside. We have arrived! So I'd say for the second half of that bike ride, we were a lot less efficient compared to the first half. After we got to Andover, I felt like we were doing everything just a bit slower, just because it was a really hot day. We were carrying all our stuff, of course, and like there were some points when like I had to brake like every minute just because I didn't have the energy to do it. And we wanted to find a shop to get like, I don't know, energy drinks, but there wasn't one for ages because it was quite rural. And you've also got to bear in mind that where we finished is actually more uphill than Southampton, because Southampton is obviously by the sea, which means it's like pretty much sea level. But here we've gone inland a bit more, so like the whole bike ride was more uphill. So yeah, it was quite a tiring day, but we've managed to do it. And here are the stats from our bike ride today. So you can see here that we cycled at 8.9 miles per hour, which is fairly slow, but considering the conditions, I think it's all right. 45.36 miles, and our moving time was 5 hours and 4 minutes, which is a long day, because if you look at the top, we only ended the cycling at 5:40, so we were out quite late. You might also be wondering why the fastest mile, so the one that's a slightly darker blue, is towards the end. I seem to remember we'd be going up and up and up for ages. That was like a massive down, so I'm pretty sure like that whole mile was downhill. So basically, in the morning, I filmed a video, it's basically saying that I'm going to rate each Premier Inn we're staying in, and I've completely lost it. It's a mystery as to where it went. But anyway, what I said in that video was that I'm giving this Premier Inn 5 out of 10. It was a good standard Premier Inn experience, but we didn't get a great view from the room. We were on so basically the one up from the going out area, so you couldn't see much. And also at breakfast it annoyed me, because basically because of COVID, you can't get up and get breakfast yourself. So I wanted a coffee, and there were no waitresses around, so I had to walk over to find a waitress to then make my coffee, even though whilst I was speaking to her, I was standing right by the coffee machine. So anyway, it gets 5 out of 10. I'll be doing this for every Premier Inn. So here's our footage of us cycling to Bicester. Go left at the end. So if you're wondering how navigation worked on this trip, basically I went on my computer and put in the two places I wanted to go to and dragged the blue line as to avoid as many main roads as I could. Then downloaded those directions into my phone so that I could use Google Maps offline, so I wasn't wasting all of my data. So I would shout out instructions to my mum, who was in front. Right, straight on and up the hill. This is a weird junction. Basically, it's only 9 o'clock, and yesterday we left at 9:30, and I'd say today we left at like 8ish, so we're definitely way ahead of yesterday. Well, that's mad. The church is over there and we can hear it from here. The road then kind of changed into a dirt track, which wasn't useful considering it was such a big hill. This was the first of what would be a very long off-road section that really slowed us down. Hi, morning. Yeah. Thank you. We're not going much faster than you.
I think you're doing very well.
But it was definitely worth it for the down. Google Maps has called this a road. I'm not going to lie, this is the worst road I have ever seen. I then filmed a bit of me cycling down that said road. Right, so we then went through the village of Watlington in Oxford, and we knew this place would have historical significance because as we were approaching it, there was a brown sign. And if you didn't know, in the UK, brown signs denote tourist attractions, and it said the historic village of Watlington. So, anyway, you wouldn't expect that a tiny place with only a population of 2,727 would have such a big history. But I did some digging, and it does. So, this place is likely to have been first settled in the 6th century due to its proximity of the Icknield Way. So, this is one of the UK's oldest roads, and this would have been used in the 6th century just to basically carry goods on horseback around most of the country. And as Watlington was near it, it would have obviously been a stop-off point and a place where people would want to settle. In the 9th century, a chart was used by King Ethelred of Mercia, and it records 8 major dwellings in Watlington. So this is quite a lot for its time. This place was also a major billeting base for parliamentary soldiers in the English Civil War. So I'm sure you know a bit about the English Civil War, that it was between royalists and parliamentarians. So yeah, this was a key tactical base for parliamentary soldiers. John Hampden also stayed in Watlington the night before he died. Basically, he was a parliamentarian, and he was one of the 5 people who rebelled against the king and whose arrest sparked the war. And he died at the Battle of Chaldrove Field, which is very near Watlington. We actually cycled through Chaldrove as well. There's also the Watlington White Mark, and this was built by Squire Edward Horde, who was very selfish. Basically, he didn't like how the church didn't have a spire on it. So he positioned the mark on the cliff so that when he looked out of his window, he could see the church and then this white mark above it, which was meant to be a replacement for a spire, because he was too lazy to actually build a spire on the church himself. And this is incredibly selfish because it looks ugly and benefiting nobody but him. It's 11 metres wide and 82 metres long. So think about all the poor people that would look at the church and that this white mark is not aligned with the church. They'd be pretty annoyed because, like, it would be crooked. And it's 82 metres long, so basically the whole village should see it, and it only benefited one person. In 2015, the Watlington Hoard was found, and this just proves that this village does have historical significance. It consisted of bits of silver dating back to Alfred the Great in the 9th century. And it was bought by the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford for 1.35 million. But that is absolutely nothing compared to what we found in Staffordshire, my home county. We found the Staffordshire hoard at around a similar time, and this isn't silver, this is gold. And it was sold to a museum in Birmingham, which I have been to and seen for myself, for 3.28 million. So more than double what this rubbishy little hoard in Watlington was sold for. So this next footage will see us cycling through Watlington. It will see us wait ages at a traffic light and also cross the River Thames, which I didn't know went through Oxfordshire until very recently. Right, so we then met this guy who was on quite an upright kind of shopping bike, who had shopping bags over like the handlebars and in his panniers at the back. And he was like, up there is very overgrown. And because of the type of bike he was on, we didn't believe him. And then we realised he kind of had a point. It was, in fact, very overgrown. And I'm not happy. So we've pushed very hard cycling today. We have got 15 out of 47 miles left, and it's literally only 2 o'clock. We started at 8 for this reason, and this progress means I can watch the England game. We couldn't find a pub which showed it, so I'm just watching it on my phone here. So it is again the hottest day of the year, and look, my hair is basically wet from all the sweating. It's pretty difficult, and now we are faced with this hill. But this is the hill we are faced with. Really don't want to go up it. Now, if you're wondering why I was not going up in a straight line, why I was veering over to the other side of the road, it's just I find that a lot easier when going up hills. Basically, you're taking the steep gradient out of it. So if you go up at an angle, you're going up a less steep gradient. Granted, you are covering more distance, but I find covering more distance and it being less uphill is easier than less distance and more uphill. That hill was literally never ending. It's completely killed off all the energy reserves I had left. It took me 10 minutes to get up, 10 minutes of pure climbing. But we've been rewarded with ending up in the nice village of Brill here. Decent little village square, I suppose. So we have somehow managed to stumble across a tourist location. There is a windmill there. And a really, really nice view as well. Reminds me of cycling in the Netherlands. Okay, this is mad. I've just looked at this windmill on TripAdvisor, and it says it's open to the public every Sunday between Easter and the end of September from 2 PM to 5 PM. We were literally there at 4 PM on a Sunday between Easter and the end of September. We literally saw people going into it. Like, I just thought that was an everyday thing, but like, if we'd have known it was only like 3 hours a week when they let people in, we might have actually gone in. See, that's why it was so busy. We got there and there were loads of people there. We wondered why it was so busy because, let's face it, it's just a windmill. It's not amazingly special. But, wow, I've just realised that's amazing that we were there in like the only 3 hours a week it's open. What are the chances? So, we have made it to Bicester, which is excellent. We ended up doing 49.81 miles today, which is roughly 4 more than yesterday, which was 45.36. So we went further today, which is great. So you probably can't see it on camera, but that there, this building here, is Bicester Village, which is a place I've never actually been to. Immediately strikes me as being more modern than the Premier Inn in Newbury. Our evening meal is here. So my mum's had to go back to work because she's a teacher and tomorrow is Monday. So my dad is going to complete the final 2 days with me, and he has kindly taken Monday and Tuesday off work. So how do you feel about it?
Excited.
Good. So for the final 2 days, we're going to wear these padded shorts because my bum was starting to get sore.